Hi there, Airflow. So I thought I'd make a video to actually answer your question. So here's what you wrote. You said, okay, I've got a connection from top to bottom. What I would like to focus on is now dynamics in each note of my range. So my question is, how do you increase volume properly with this technique? What is the focus of mindset? Now, the first guy you linked to, you said, is that correct? It's not correct. What he's doing is not right. What he's doing is have a listen to his tone. I'll show you what he's doing. So what he's doing is he's pushing his larynx down with his tongue, and he's using that to get more power. To basically, he's supporting by pushing his tongue down his larynx. The reason why he's doing that is because he hasn't learned how to actually support from down here. So the tone, as the tone gets bigger, it needs more resistance to pull against, and since he hasn't trained it to work down there, it will occur up in the throat. So that's why many people sing lightly, because when they try to sing louder, they immediately tighten up in the throat, and their teacher will then tell them, oh, well, you just got to go lighter. No, you've got to learn how to use the volume you want to learn how to use. You've got to learn how to manage it correctly. You've got to learn how to work with big sounds. It's okay to start lightly, but you've got to then, at some stage, you know, what he did, you want it really go, oh, and that's not even a high note, so that's not really a good place to demonstrate that. That's very, you know, what you're after really, you want to know how to do the high notes. The other advice that's usually common is, you know, if you want to go louder, blow more air and stuff like that. That's dangerous advice. You definitely don't want to do that. If you blow air trying to go louder, especially on a high note, you will over time most likely damage your voice. So actually, when you're going for high notes and you're trying to get more power, you actually want less air in the voice, because if you blow more air, what will happen is you actually blow the cords open, and the air will irritate the cords. What you're really after is resisting. It's called breath compression, and that's the whole idea of the exercises you've been doing, like all those things. The idea behind those exercises is that the mum is getting the chords to stay together, so when the air that's exhaling, because singing is essentially an exhale, as the air comes up, it gets trapped under the chords and gets resisted by the chords, because the chords are strong enough to stay together. What happens is, if your chords aren't strong enough to stay together, they will blow open and you'll go to falsetto. That's okay. That just means you're not ready for that kind of power yet. So you just go as much as you can handle. Now, the way that you start building power is, you mentioned that you've been working from top to bottom. That's excellent way to work freedom and build the mix. What you want to start doing is come bottom up with more complex scales. So and bigger vowels. So what you'll need to do is start distancing yourself from the consonant sounds like mum, 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 and start working on actually learning how to do it on the vowels like ah and oo and e by itself. If you can't do that yet, then what you want to do is actually transition. So what you can do is you can take half the scale in the consonant, half the scale in the vowel, and you work top down for this. So for example, let's start on like an E5. I'm going to go mum to ah, like this. Mum, 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 like that. Okay? Now what I'm doing is, there's a phenomena that occurs, and it's different for everyone, but there's a phenomena where around the middle of your range, or what's called the passaggio, that's where the hardest notes will be, and as you get out of there and get into your upper high mix, it starts getting a bit easier again. And if that's the case for you, you can really exploit that, because what you can start doing is actually leaning more volume into the upper mix, and then on the descent on the scale, you can bring it back down through that passaggio, and that's how you learn how to actually support and strengthen that area. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to come back down. You see I got my chin down, because if I don't want to involve all these neck muscles and stuff. It's a very relaxed sound. It's tight here, and I'm really going in loudly on the sound. Ma 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 ma, ma ma ma. notice the clearness in the R vowel. It's very clear, but it's still got this depth in it. So I'm not doing high larynx, and I'm not pushing it down low larynx either. It's still sitting in the middle, and that's where it stays free, and I can build strength in the sound. Ma, 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 ma. Okay, so we're coming down. Ma, 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 ma. And then we go back to the A4 here. Ma, 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 ma. Did you notice my top note there was a lot thicker? Ma. Now the next step after this is actually to just move to the vowel itself, okay? So we're not using the crutches of the mum anymore. And that's in the CDs, it's in the program, so you want to move through that. Now, the way you're going to get dynamics into your voice is twofold. The first way is you want to build more power, more strength, because you said you can only sing lightly at the moment. And so you definitely want to build a strong, loud tone that is free all the way to your highest falsetto note. So, you know, my falsetto typically goes up to about a G5, so my mixed voice goes all the way up there too. So you want to kind of do that. The next thing is, once you've got that strong tone, you'll find you can start backing off it once it's warmed up. You know, not in the morning and stuff like that, but once you've warmed it up for a good hour or so, you'll find you can thin it out and go back and forth and things like that. And the way you can train that is through actual songs. So I'm going to sing a song, Very Superstitious. Okay, now what I'm going to do for an exercise is actually crescendo through the song like this. So I'll get the notes. Like that, and then I'll go up here. Yeah, very superstitious. So let's take the stitious, you know. So we're going very it's a kind of a complex idea, but so you can kind of get lost. So that's why I recommend working out where the notes are of the song. But it will really build a lot of control in your voice. Then what you want to do is sing the song really slow. So instead of very superstitious, I want to slow it down and add a fade to every word. Like this. So we go, very superstitious. Like that. You see I'm fading in on everything? This will teach you stylistic and artistic embellishments. The next thing you can do is just sing slow songs, ballads, because they have this stuff built into the songs, to the phrasing. The crescendo exercise does work. It is a great exercise. It's just very difficult. And you don't want to really attempt that until your voice is thinning out. So, because if your voice isn't thinning out, you'll just get stuck in your chest voice and get caught there. But, you know, have a shot at it. Now, the key about building power in the mixed voice is that you do not want to sacrifice your range. So what happens is a lot of guys get this nice thin mixed voice that's very light, and then they start kind of pulling chest to get power, and then they go back to straining on the F4 again. You know, you don't want to do that. Only pull in as much weight as you can without straining and without breaking the voice, without breaking the bridge. I recommend taking this scale. You know, and do a different vowel too. Do all the vowels, you know, ooh, and go all the way up. You want to make sure you can get all the way through your range, you know, all the way through the mix on those vowels. The reason why that scale is effective is because the intervals are very tight. So what happens is it doesn't encourage the voice to thin out, and that's a challenge because then you've got to still get your voice to thin out while doing that. And that will help you a lot with music because there's many songs that have melodies that have tight intervals like that. We'll go, for example, if we do an E, see my posture here? What I'm doing is I'm showing the teeth and I'm letting the jaw come down and relax. So when I get higher, and I'm making sure to keep that kind of beefiness under it. So I'm not going, I'm not doing that. I'm kind of letting the thickness stay in the voice. So, but it's still a free sound. I get that thickness because the jaw's down. And it gives me that kind of sound. You know, it gives me that kind of bigger tone. There is a tightening that occurs in the belly, and the pelvic floor pulls up and in. So what I pull up the pelvic floor and I tighten the belly as I ascend on the notes. It's nothing extreme. You shouldn't be going out of your mind doing it, but it's a subtle tightening that you need. Otherwise, you'll find that when you start going loud, the larynx will start getting tight because, you know, so we want to keep the larynx flexible and relaxed at all times. The next thing about building power is that you want to start getting good at moving from vowel to vowel. Okay? So if you're up here, it's going to be a you should be able to move from different vowels without feeling like your throat's going and choking. Okay? And you want to make sure you're still in the mix. Now, if you can do this on all the different vowels, that's when you're going to start noticing that this carries over into singing. And just the more you use it, it's going to get stronger. But I stress, you know, you don't want to blow air through to push power. You don't want to blow air. You actually want less air. Okay? You can even try this out by exhaling. I usually get singers to do this when I train them. The idea here is you literally exhale. I had no air as I did that. Okay, so the whole idea is you're really going to feel the body compress as you do it with no air, and it's going to give you a nice sensation of how to sing without blowing air. If you blow air into the sound to get power, you're going to have a very short career. And you definitely do not want to press down your larynx like, you don't want that. That's gonna, you won't be able to go high, and that will damage your voice too over time. So those two approaches, you know, be careful with. Power is something that matures over time, like a wine as well, and don't sacrifice your mix for it. So just keep that nice connection all the time. Make sure you got a free vibrato. You never want to feel rigid or stiff. And warming up the voice. A good 45 minutes of warming up the mix, you will naturally feel that you can sing with more power into the sound. Okay, so there's a lot to this, but I hope that you found this video kind of insightful in a way, and I hope it gives you something to work with. So thanks for watching, and best wishes to you. Thank you.